All right, guys. So awesome job all year long, and awesome job with all the distance learning stuff. So in this last week, what we're going to talk about, it's kind of like we talked about all year long, is our successful traits. So you can see one of them down below. We have diligence, then we have leadership, communication, and utilizing resources. And so a lot of you guys have done a really good job of those this last couple weeks, and all of those also all year long. And so again, my goal for this whole class, and pretty much school in general, in my opinion, is preparing for you guys to deal with difficult circumstances, exactly what you're doing right now, and then doing things that are important even if you don't want to do them. So an example of that might be, balancing your checkbook. That is not fun at all, but it's a skill, that's something you're going to have to do in real world, and you have to be diligent to do that. So we're just trying to let you get used to, okay, sometimes I have to do some things. They're not fun, but to be successful, I have to model these skills. And so that's what, hopefully, you guys have some examples of how you've done that. And I know you guys have, right? So some examples of how you could have been doing diligence during this distance learning is that, hey, I paid attention to all the directions. So each week had a couple different quizzes, and that you slowed down and you read them and you completed all of those things. So that would be an example of being diligent. Communication, I think that's down here, right? So communication. A lot of you did a really good job of messaging me when you had problems, saying, hey, I'm having these problems, can you help me out? And so that was a great job of doing a successful skill of communicating. Hey, maybe you ask your friends questions, or you ask your parents, but those are things that are important to having success. Utilizing resources is huge. Okay? The internet is a treasure trove of resources. You're always going to have that in your, hopefully, future moving forward, to go find stuff to get things done. Right? So that is a great thing for you guys to have. And a lot of you probably did that to figure out some of the assignments. The last one, leadership. Right? That's probably hard in groups, but maybe you were talking with friends and you were exhibiting leadership, or maybe you had to help your parents or your job. Okay? This assignment doesn't necessarily have to be with school. Really what we're doing is we're looking for how you demonstrated those successful skills. Right? So your first assignment, there's going to be two. Okay? Your first assignment is, how have you demonstrated successful skills during your distance learning? Be specific. This can be at your schoolwork, or it can also be with your parents or your job. Anything that you feel like that you've demonstrated a successful skill. And we just saw those examples, so you can go back and pause through some of those. But those are some things that I want to hear, and you have to be specific. This is a highlight right here. If you feel like you haven't demonstrated successful skills, what is one that you feel like you can work on this week, and how will you do so? Right? This is how it will be graded. Okay? You can get 100 if the example is detailed enough to prove you have demonstrated this skill. So you can't just be vague. You said, oh, I was diligent, I worked really hard. Right? That's not going to give you enough. I need to know specific examples, how you worked really hard. Okay? If you just said very hard, that would probably be 50. You'll get a 50 for this assignment. Put a little bit of effort into that. Think through. This is a time to brag on yourself for how you've done some things, and be specific. Okay? Kind of like for a job. Hey, when you go to a job, I really struggle with this as well, of figuring out, hey, how can you brag on yourself? Let people know how you have a quality skill set, and that's what you guys can practice on. You'll see in the directions there'll be multiple ways. You can either do it by writing, you can do it by video or audio. So all of those options are for you, but that's the rubric, how it will be graded. Second part of the assignment is right here. Okay? Grit. Okay? Here's some awesome things about grit that I thought were really good. So why do naturally talented people frequently fail to reach their potential, while far less gifted individuals go on to achieve amazing things? The secret to outstanding achievement is not talent, but a passionate persistence, and they call this as grit. I have seen this so much during distance learning. So many of you who maybe school just doesn't come naturally to you, but you have grit, you have a passionate persistence, and you guys are crushing distance learning. When things get difficult, people with grit rise to the top, and you guys are doing that. Right? Here's another really good definition of grit that I liked. Grit means you have courage and you show the strength of your character, and I have seen that so much with all of you. A person with true grit has passion and perseverance. Goals are set and followed through. A person who works really hard to follow through on a commitment has true grit. So that you have some goals. I don't know, that could be a school goal or some other goal. We'll give you my example, but you follow through on your commitment. So I like this one. Goals are set and followed through. So for your second assignment, what are some things you wanted to get done during our time apart? That's our distance learning once we didn't come back after spring break, and that you persevered and accomplished because of you had grit. Right? And again, there's your detailed explanation. So I'll give you my example. Right? So my example is I wanted to stay healthy. Right? You're inside a lot more at the beginning. The refrigerator is a great distractor. So for me, I wanted to work out. Right? So I set up a schedule. So I'm working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. every single day, or every single one of those days. So I've been able to do that. This has been hard because I have work and I have to deal with my kids. So I feel like I've shown grit in that manner by working out. I have not shown grit by hitting the refrigerator too much, but at least I'm working out to balance that out. So I really look forward to hearing your guys' responses. And then hopefully come visit next year. You guys are awesome.